Our next mansion story is called Spooky Tenants from October 1969. This is apparently a short story from Walt Disney Comics Digest, but it's not a comic strip. It's a text-based short story with some illustrations, I think. The only version of this I found is on the Haunted Mansion's fandom wiki, which posts the pictures and then has what purports to be the full text of the story just in the body of the wiki article, and I'm just taking it at the wiki's word that this is what was printed in the actual magazine, but the scans are cropped to just the images, so I don't know. This could just be someone's fanfic that they're trying to Mandela effect us into believing was printed in this magazine, like a really low-stakes version of Wag the Dog. But I have no particular reason to not trust the Haunted Mansion fandom wiki, so I will take it at their word that this is how the story goes, unless I'm proven otherwise at some point in the future. Now, this is the first, but not the last mansion story to feature Mickey and the gang, as Goofy has been dealing with some annoying ghosts.
Goofy, I just painted those steps,
protested Mickey.
Sorry, Mick, but I'm too tired to move. I haven't had a night's sleep in 2 weeks. All night long, this guy rides his bicycle right through my room.
A guy rides his bicycle through your room?
Said Mickey.
Yes, and there's another guy that sits on the stairs and shuffles a pack of cards and laughs.
Sometimes, when talking to Goofy, Mickey felt he had come in the middle of the Late Late Show. Which means On the Open Road is just a carpool karaoke number.
Well, I don't really mind them,
Goofy went on.
They don't hurt anything and they sure don't eat anything. But they're so darn noisy.
So Goofy naps at Mickey's house while Mickey researches the ghost's identity.
Remember the old Harker house?
Mickey asked his friend.
It was torn down a little over 2 weeks ago. There was a story about it in the paper. Everyone always said that it was haunted. Well, I looked it up in the library. I think the ghost with the bicycle must be old Jonathan Harker.
Jonathan Harker? From Dracula? That's a pretty big name ghost to end up with Goofy.
The ghost with the cards would be Jonathan's nephew, Ebenezer. He liked to play cards. His wife liked to go to parties, so she used to steal 1 or 2 cards out of every deck he bought.
Not sure I understand the cause and effect there. She liked to go to parties, so she stole cards? I like to make videos, so I eat tacos. You get the connection.
He never had a full deck. It bothered him so much that he had a fit of apoplexy and died.
Oh God, is fretting over losing something small fatal now? As if I needed more anxiety every time I can't find my keys.
When they tore down the old Harker house,
Mickey went on,
the ghosts lost their home. I suppose they wandered around for a night or two and then found your place, which is, well...
I know,
said Goofy with a good nature.
It's kind of run down and spooky looking.
Well, yeah, your address is still listed as a bounce house, even though it hasn't been a bounce house in 17 years. Get your crap together, Goof.
I'm sorry, Goofy,
said Mickey.
But this is an awfully ordinary house. Your ghost could be at a really great haunted house.
So Mickey lures the ghost out of Goofy's house by negging Goofy's house.
The house I'm thinking of will be perfect for the Harkers. It was built for ghosts.
I like this backstory. There's no sea captain or Master Gracie. Nobody ever lived in the mansion. It was always built exclusively for ghosts. I wonder what the zoning permits are on that.
I never thought I'd get rid of a bunch of ghosts by sending them to Disneyland,
laughed Goofy.
With the Haunted Mansion open, where else would you send a homeless spook?
Said Mickey Mouse. So this is the first piece of ancillary media I found to purport that the actual attraction, physically in Disneyland, is a real haunted house with real ghosts. The story and song put the mansion in Anytown, USA, but this says that when you go to Disneyland, you are seeing real ghosts, including the ghost of Jonathan Harker, presumably. But otherwise, it's not really an adaptation of the mansion. It's just a story set in a world where the mansion is real, so I can't really judge it as a translation of the mansion's story and tone to a new medium, but as a potential backstory for some of the ghosts, it works as well as any. The next proper adaptation I could find was released 6,680 days after the Mouse Factory episode. If they had just released this 20 days earlier, we could have kept to a spooky theme, but no. But this is a big one because June 1st, 1990 saw the release of the first video game representation I have been able to find of the Haunted Mansion. I refer, of course, to Adventures in the Magic Kingdom for the NES, one of many beloved Disney games made by Capcom. In this game, Goofy has lost the keys to the castle, and you have to find them by getting to the end of attraction minigames and by answering trivia. Now, before we get any further, yes, the title is Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, but the mansion exterior in the game looks more like the Disneyland mansion, and the castle on the box art is Cinderella's castle, but the castle in the game looks more like Sleeping Beauty's castle. plopped on top of the Great Wall of China. And the map layout doesn't resemble any existing park, but it's closer to Disneyland Park than to Magic Kingdom, Florida. And that's mostly because this is a relic of a time when Disney wasn't quite as precious about specific nomenclature in their branding, and often used the phrase Magic Kingdom to refer not specifically to Magic Kingdom Park in Florida, but to the general idea of a Disneyland-style Magic Kingdom Park. Disneyland itself was frequently referred to as the Magic Kingdom before there even was a Florida park. So when this game advertises itself as Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, it's not saying that it's Adventures in the Magic Kingdom Trademark Park located at 11807 Seas Drive, Lake Buena Vista, Florida 32830. It means Adventures in a hypothetical amalgamation of all Magic Kingdoms. Adventures in the idea of a Magic Kingdom. That way they're legally not claiming that this is the adventure you'll have when you visit any specific Magic Kingdom, because the Haunted Mansion at all those is an Omnimover ride and not a side-scrolling platformer. But here, the Haunted Mansion is just one of your quests on your way to find the 6 keys that unlock the not specifically branded castle. As you begin your quest, Mickey gives you the Dennis Nedry pose as he cheerfully warns you that you could die. Then if you do die, he gives you the same pose and callously tells you to try again. So the level begins, and the first thing you see is this really scary ghost guy, and if you touch him now, it's insta-death. And instead of friendly Mickey shaming you, it's scary ghost guy shaming you. Traumatizing. The first part of the level is the cemetery, most likely meant to reflect the queue outside the ride, but borrowing a little from the graveyard scene in the ride, and also adding Nosferatu zombies! Nothing like that in the ride. You can kill them by throwing a single candle at them. The main thing borrowed from the graveyard scene is the heads popping up behind the gravestones. Some of them are Dracula. Some of them are Fido Dido. Then you move inside the mansion where you can start collecting more candles to throw at enemies, and the scary ghost guy does like a Scooby-Doo mirror gag. He doesn't go quite full Groucho and Harpo with it, and it's not quite Hitchhiking Ghost either, since his reflection doesn't appear alongside yours, but hey, it's cute for, being scary. And we get bottomless pits, which, are in the ride, but not as far as guests know. We get falling chandeliers, which aren't in the ride. And we get hands that reach out of coffins, which I guess is a reference to the coffin occupant, except the lid was finally removed and suddenly he's lost interest in getting out and now he just wants to drag you in. Also, he's lying lengthwise in the coffin, or he's just placing his hands weirdly, or he has a companion in there with him. No wonder he lost interest in getting out. Have fun, you two. Oh, and also, while the zombies can be killed with 1 candle hit, each hand takes 3. You got some strong-ass hands there, Rockbiter. Then you ride this flying chair up to the upper level, where you're in the ballroom, and we get our most explicit bit of iconography from the ride thus far, the ballroom dancers. And they seem to be minding their own business, but they still hurt you if they touch you, so you gotta kill them. I don't want to, they're just having a nice time, they're not hurting anybody. Well, except me, but I feel bad killing these lovers in eternal embrace. But the castle key isn't gonna find itself, so die, dancers! Then there's some tedious platforming as you hop across floating chairs and chandeliers, and you eventually find a different shaped floating chair, which takes you up to the attic for even more tedious platforming, as you ride a floating chair over a bottomless pit and try not to get knocked over by flying books. Then you jump across chairs that will fall shortly after you land on them, all while avoiding swooping ghosts who look like parrots, and finally you ride one last chair up to the boss battle. The singing busts are there, although their placement is more reminiscent of the watchful busts, and there's plenty of candles to stock up on as the scary ghost guy comes in for the attack, and you gotta fight him off. And once you defeat him, Goofy gives you the key. Isn't Goofy the one who lost the keys in the first place? I'm starting to suspect the narrative of this game wasn't intricately crafted by an author with a master plan. Anyway, 2.5 months later, in August of 1990, the Disney Sing-Along Songs line released Disneyland Fun, the first Disney Sing-Along Songs video to consist mostly of original footage, and not just musical numbers from movies framed with redubbed Professor Owl, Jiminy Cricket, or Ludwig von Drake footage. This one features surprisingly few Disneyland songs, mostly other songs that can be framed around Disneyland attractions and experiences, but one of the handful of Disneyland songs it features is Grim Grinning Ghosts. And even though this scene potentially only takes place in a little girl's imagination, I have to include it because this was my only exposure to the mansion when I was a spineless little coward boy.
Boy, this place is creepy.
Yeah.
I wonder what weird things happen here at night.
Yeah, I was too scared to ride the ride as a kid, and then I didn't really end up going to Disneyland Park during my teenage years, so my first ride on the mansion wasn't until my 22nd birthday. As a kid, all I knew of the mansion was this, and even this was almost too scary for me. If you asked me what the Haunted Mansion was, I'd say it's the place where all the villains congregate and have a spooky party. The scary Snow White trees are dancing until the scary Snow White witch reveals herself with a cartoon sound effect, all while Thurl sings a way slowed down version of Grim Grinning Ghosts.
The haunts materialize and begin to vocalize. Grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
Again, as a kid, this was the version I knew. When I finally rode the ride, I was shocked at how up-tempo the real version of the song is. The witch does this weird tiptoe and head turn between the columns, disappearing behind the columns, followed by the wolf, Captain Hook, and the witch again, and this was real unsettling as a child, but I think having Captain Hook there was reassuring because at least he was a villain I knew, right? And I knew how silly and non-threatening he really was. So that might have helped me not to be too scared, knowing that there was someone here I could handle. And then someone I could really handle was Donald in a sheet as a ghost. Okay, Donald's just being silly. Yeah, he's in a terrifying place, but Donald's a good guy. This is gonna be okay. Although, come to think of it, I was just assuming that it is Donald. The video doesn't offer any proof that it is Donald specifically. It could be any duck. Maybe it's Magica De Spell, and I should have been scared. Well, I was about to get scared again anyway, because now it's time for actual footage of the ride interior, and I had no idea what I was looking at here as a kid who had never ridden this thing. But hey, this is the only appearance we get of any Haunted Mansion characters in the Haunted Mansion portion of this Disneyland video. But we're about to get a character who shares a voice with a mansion character, Maleficent. Shiny, wet Maleficent with a prosthetic Jay Leno chin.
Creepy creeps with eerie eyes start to shriek and harmonize. Grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
That boo is objectively very silly, and yet it scared the crap out of me as a child. I don't know if that says more about the video or more about me as a child, but it definitely says a lot about something. And then all the villains dance together. They're just having a good time. It may not be mansion characters, but it is true to the mansion spirit of scary people just having fun. Then everyone stops dancing, the villains disappear, the trees stop moving, and the girl stops dissociating.
Danielle. Hey, Danielle. Let's go.
As a child, this segment scared the crap out of me and also intrigued me, just like the mansion is supposed to. So even though it doesn't feature that much in the way of mansion characters or iconography, just the exterior and a little bit of B-roll, for little child me, it was the perfect tonal adaptation of the Haunted Mansion, and it set me up to love it when I finally rode the ride as a recent college grad. Side note, there was also a Disneyland Paris sing-along video in 1993 that used many of the same songs from Disneyland Fun, and it also has a Grim Grinning Ghost sequence, but since that's based on Phantom Manor, which is a distinct story from the Haunted Mansion, I'm not covering it here. And then on December 16th came the final adaptation from 1994, our next video game to feature the Haunted Mansion, a game released only in Japan for the Super Famicom, whose title translates as Mickey's Grand Adventure in Tokyo Disneyland. This is a game where Mickey has to gather all his friends for the big show, navigating platform levels based on Tokyo Disneyland attractions using both helium and water balloons. The Haunted Mansion level starts off immediately with more recognizable mansion iconography than Adventures in the Magic Kingdom did by showing us a stretching room portrait. And it's actually a squash and stretch portrait. Okay, that's not the way those portraits stretch, but the spirit is there. And in this first part of the mansion, Mickey has to go up, which I actually think is a pretty clever way of adapting the feeling of the stretching room to a game mechanic and a side-scroller. There's no hanging body at the top, just a ghost below you that will catch you if you fail.
Which I learned from bitter experience because I'm bad at video games.
Fortunately, if this ghost gets you, you don't lose a life, only 1 health point, but you do have to start over from the bottom of the stretching room. Then there's the Hall of Doors, and each door leads to another passage where you have to do something. One of the passages is yet another tall climbing thing, because Tokyo didn't have a Tower of Terror yet, so they had to put all their tall bits into the Haunted Mansion. You have to race this ghost up to the top of the stairs to get to the door before he blocks it, and you have to land on these buttons to open the stairs while he just gets to float up to the top. It's tedious and frustrating. But if you beat him to that door, you enter the library, where the watchful busts are just kind of minding their own business, so I want to leave them alone, but the door's locked and there's nothing else in this room, so I guess I gotta attack them. And when I do, books fall on me and hurt me. Okay. When I attack a bust, I can move under his ledge so the books don't hit me, but if I'm under his ledge when he's finally defeated, he might hurt me on his way out. Complicated. Anyway, once you defeat them all, the door opens and you push this button on this machine. Then you go back to the entrance, back down the stairs, back to the Hall of Doors for another passage. This one's got knights you can either defeat or avoid, then you gotta navigate this little underground tunnel without falling in a bottomless pit and dying of starvation. Then you gotta trigger both these buttons at the same time to open the door, which requires 2 water balloons, and is probably not actually that tricky to get timing-wise, but it was for me because I suck at video games. But you make it into the door, into the next hallway, which is just loaded with knights, but you run to the end, open another door, trigger another machine, and try to make it back without dying. I failed. Fortunately, continuing from a game over did not send me back to the bottom of the stretching room, just the corridor of doors. But I did have to redo the parts I already did, which was obnoxious. Then I gave up on this game and just watched a video on YouTube. So it looks like the next passage had paintings and doors that fall, then you go into a hall with bad guys in disguise as treasure chests, and a button on the ceiling. Then that opens the door to the room with real treasure chests and another machine. Then one last tall room where you have to tediously balloon your way up until you get to a ledge, go in a door, go in another door, and you're in the seance room. And then you have to throw water balloons at Madame Leota, and I don't love the idea of fighting her, but I like that the floating instruments are like her shield. That's a fun way to adapt ride iconography to a game mechanic. Anyway, once she disappears, the door opens, another machine. Once you've triggered all 4 machines, the door that let you in now leads you out to the graveyard, which has, ghosts floating around and some popping up behind headstones. That one might be the Beating Heart Bride, it's hard to tell. Then you make it through and you throw water balloons at Ghost Pete. And that's the mansion level. I like the aesthetics of this game, the visuals are great, the mansion looks so fun rendered into these graphics. This looks much better than Adventures in the Magic Kingdom's mansion level, but the gameplay here is even more tedious. I got mild enjoyment out of the balloon mechanic, but only mild, and each task to progress through the mansion was just frustrating. Clearly, I am not a hardcore enough gamer to handle commercials for theme parks starring Mickey Mouse designed for children. Then in 1998, we get 3 adaptations that feature the Mickey Mouse Gang. On July 24th, there was a Game Boy game in Japan only called Tokyo Disneyland Fantasy Tour, and it had mini-games based on several attractions, including one where Goofy enters the mansion. Alright, Goofy's going to the Haunted Mansion, and I don't read Japanese, I can't read this exposition. I assume that's saying there's 999 happy haunts, but there's room for 1,000, but beyond that, I don't know what's being conveyed to me here. Okay, game starts, and hey, Leota let her hair down. She looks good. She's giving us more exposition that I can't read. Okay, what am I supposed to do here? Do I literally just choose the same design she shows me? It can't be that simple, right? Let me try a different design. Okay, that was wrong, and let me try the same design again. Wow, it's not even a memory game, it's just a matching game on the level of a Celebrity Jeopardy question on SNL. That's disappointing for a mansion minigame, but that's a nice rendering of Leota. Much better than either of the books that came with records. More prominently in 1998, we got another sing-along video, this one more focused on the mansion. Sort of. This one came out after I outgrew sing-along songs, so I never really watched it until researching this video, and this is the one that's breaking me. So this is allegedly a Halloween party at the Haunted Mansion, and we open with our invitation to the party, and then we get Corey Burton. Sure, makes sense, right? Corey Burton. He's the go-to Paul Frees sound-alike, so why wouldn't he play the ghost host? Here's the thing. He's not playing the ghost host, he's playing the magic mirror. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wait, wasn't Tony Jay the standard voice of the magic mirror at this point in Disney history? Corey's not playing the normal magic mirror. He's playing the weird live-action Hans Conried magic mirror.
To the Haunted Mansion you're invited for a Halloween party. I'm so excited.
So for those who don't know, in a number of Disney television specials, most notably 1 Hour in Wonderland, Hans Conried, Captain Hook himself, played a weird live-action version of the magic mirror who could interact with Walt and his guests and cause Charlie McCarthy to be skeptical.
I am here, Master.
It's some kind of gag.
Oh, Charlie, you shouldn't throw stones when I can see Bergen's lips moving. No wonder Disney started hiring the other ventriloquist instead. So, okay. Despite being the go-to substitute ghost host, in this video, Corey Burton's not doing Freeze, he's doing Conried. Just doing Snidely Whiplash instead of Boris Badenov. He's not doing the Hans Conried character who showed up in the mansion in the other sing-along, just the Hans Conried character that most people have no memory of Hans Conried playing, as a callback to some Walt-era television specials. But I really don't remember those specials being in heavy circulation in 1998. Maybe Disney Channel reran them from time to time, but this was not a prominent and particularly remembered version of the Magic Mirror, at least not among the target audience for a sing-along songs video. Now, Conried's Magic Mirror does have a Haunted Mansion connection, in that reportedly the footage they shot of him in 1 Hour in Wonderland was the first footage they tested the mansion's face projection effects with, but I'm gonna venture a guess that very few of the people who watched this sing-along video knew that. Having Corey do Conried as a throwback to specials that the target audience doesn't remember is a deliberate choice to do some real deep Disney fan service. Not mansion fan service, but maybe we'll get more of that as we go?
Come on, join in. The Halloween party's about to begin.
Or maybe not, since as soon as the kids enter the mansion, this is no longer a party at Disneyland, but a party at a soundstage that makes zero effort to resemble the mansion as we know it. Did the makers of this video know anything about the Haunted Mansion?
The Haunted Mansion's a haunted.
Oh, I stand corrected. They're clearly experts.
Listen up, you goblins and ghouls, dress up and have fun, and those are the rules. You can trick or treat with a skeleton, make no bones about it, it's fun.
Like, you could argue it's supposed to be the ballroom, but the color scheme makes it look like just a different random set. Why pretend this is the Haunted Mansion?
Daisy Duck said, hee, Minnie, I'll go as you, and you go as me. Minnie said, no, here's what we'll do. You go as me, and I'll go as you.
Daisy and Minnie are apparently going as each other? I did not get that from their costumes at all. But it is a cute couple's costume idea. Oh, yeah, Minnie and Daisy are a couple. You didn't know that? Mickey and Minnie and Donald and Daisy are actually one big polycule. They have other branching relationships outside of the polycule, too. Mickey is actually married to Bugs Bunny. Come on, skydiving is not a first date activity. And that tangent had about as much to do with the Haunted Mansion as the rest of the sing-along video.
Welcome to each and every guest. I am the voice that knows what's best.
Hey, who said that?
Oh yeah, one of those kids is a young Tyler Hoechlin, long before he would go on to fame in projects like Teen Wolf, Supergirl, and Palm Springs. That movie had us believing someone who was in this could land both Kristen Milioti and Camila Mendes.
It was me. I'll be your guide. I'll always be at your side.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Who are you?
Who and where and what I am is for you to guess, my little Sam.
So Corey as Hans is the mirror starts barking orders, and the kids in the video wonder who the voice is, even though the kids in the audience already know.
Up the stairs and down the hall. Try to find the crystal ball.
Mom, crystal ball? Oh, my God. Goodbye.
So they find the crystal ball, which contains no Leota, but does feature a kiddie song about pumpkins.
5 little pumpkins sitting on a gate. The first one said, oh my, it's getting late.
It's still better than some of the illustrations of Leota, I guess.
That looks pretty good right here.
Grinning ghosts come out. Grinning ghosts come out.
Oh, finally, a Haunted Mansion song in this Haunted Mansion video. No Haunted Mansion footage, of course, just old Disney cartoons, including another use for lonesome ghosts.
Grinning ghosts come out to socialize. Flying ghosts in the firelight. Rising spooks on every side.
I guess it's kind of an eerie rendition with inexplicably changed lyrics here and there, but The last time this appeared in a sing-along, you had Thurl doing it, and this does not outdo that at all.
This place sure looks spooky now.
Anyway, we're less than 10 minutes in, and that's basically all the stuff that has to do with the Haunted Mansion in this video set at the Haunted Mansion. This thing is called Party at Disneyland, and the only other scene at Disneyland is in the land that hadn't opened yet when they did their other Disneyland sing-along, so sure, they gotta promote that Toontown, but no mansion characters, just Merlin.
The night's magic is not yet done. I have been commanded by my Lord Mickey to transport you to the party.
Haunted Merlin doesn't have the same ring. So like I said, I didn't grow up with this video. I can't gauge its effectiveness as a spooky sing-along video for children, but as a Haunted Mansion adaptation, yeah, this is the worst one yet. At least the Game Boy game had a good picture of Leota. At least this book had stories that feel at home in the Haunted Mansion, even if they're not with mansion-specific characters. The only things this sing-along has that you'd want from a mansion adaptation are the exterior at the beginning and the song is downplayed compared to other songs. But this video has what you want from a 1 Hour in Wonderland follow-up, so if you're in the Venn diagram of people who loved 1 Hour in Wonderland and were still watching Disney sing-along songs videos in 1998, I'm glad this is here for you. Fortunately, 1998's other offering is a lot more mansion-y. A little golden coloring book called either The Haunted Mansion or The Haunted Mansion Haunted Happenings, depending on if you're reading the cover or the title page. This is another one that I haven't found in print, but a scan of the entire book is available on archive.org for you to print out in color.
Halloween morning started off like any other day. Mickey was walking into his office when he got a phone call.
Why is the sign on the window facing in the office? Seems like a misguided way to advertise the business.
Hello, Squeaky Cleaners.
Said Mickey.
Yes, we've cleaned big houses before. We'll be right over.
Wow, an immediate appointment. You just have no bookings. You really should have your sign facing outside, Mickey.
Minnie, get the troops together.
Mickey declared.
We've got a big job.
Yeah, that's great, Mickey. Do you mind? I'm trying to play Freestyle here.
The Squeaky Cleaners had no idea what awaited them inside the house. They were going to have the scariest Halloween ever.
This is one of the very few adaptations to use the Florida/Tokyo mansion design, other than the video games that are specifically set in Tokyo.
While everyone was unpacking the truck, Donald and Goofy took a look around the front yard. These big rocks have poems written on them, Goofy told Donald.
Yeah, and just wait until the overflow queue has interactive gags that get boring way faster than you'd expect.
What are you boys doing?
Mickey asked Donald and Goofy.
I want you to meet Mr. Ghoul. This is his house.
That is clearly Lurch. You don't own the place, you're just the butler and you're pretending while the master's away.
Donald notes that the house kind of reminds him of the Disney World Haunted Mansion.
Wait, the Haunted Mansion attraction exists separately from this real Haunted Mansion that looks exactly like it? That is overly complicated lore for a coloring book.
Then Donald asks Mickey if he's ever gotten the feeling that he's being watched.
Oh, it wasn't enough to dress up as Universal characters in the Mouse Factory, now you're cribbing Looney Tunes gags.
Wow!
Exclaimed Minnie.
I wonder whatever happened to this member of Mr. Ghoul's family.
Okay, you've all ridden the Haunted Mansion, why do you not recognize the stretching portrait? It's not just similar, it's the same piece of art. Is that just a more common painting in this world? Is it like dogs playing poker to you?
Meanwhile, Donald and Goofy were busy in the library. They didn't know they were getting help from some strangers.
Since they're in the library, I assume those are supposed to be the Watchful bus, which I guess in this mansion are busts of Lumiere and Cogsworth.
As Donald polished a mirror, he thought he spotted someone.
Wait, but the statue is literally right behind you. This isn't a Jake McKeith situation. If you turn around, you'll actually see that statue. What is going on here? Anyway, for a while, Mickey and Minnie are oblivious to the hauntings while everyone else starts to get scared. Classic Abbott and Costello stuff with some mansion iconography.
Donald and Goofy ran right past Minnie and Daisy. The girls were having a chat with Mr. Ghoul's wife, Madame Leota.
Whoa, bombshell! Leota's married to Mr. Ghoul? Leota Blackheart Ghoul, mansion housewife. Also, this art of Leota is clearly Madame Medusa. They cannot decide which evil Disney madam she is.
Tap the tambourine and see what happens,
cackled Madame Leota.
With a prompt like that, it would be more concerning if this wasn't a prank.
As Minnie tapped, the table rose into the air and a ghostly figure flew over Daisy's head. When Minnie and Daisy saw this, they decided to catch up with Donald and Goofy.
So that's how the tambourine awakens the spirits. It's just living in there, I guess. So eventually even Mickey can't ignore the ghosts and everyone's scared. And they end up going through the rest of the scenes pretty much in order as they show up in the ride, much like Ron Howard and Robbie Lester did decades before. They annoy the beating heart bride and make a break out the window. Oh, Ron and Robbie got stairs. Donald's not so lucky.
When the squeaky cleaners reached the ground, they finally felt safe. Until they noticed they were being watched.
Look, there's Archimedes again. He's just all over these mansion books. And he wasn't in the sing-along that Merlin was in. Did they have a bad breakup after Sword in the Stone?
Mickey and the gang ran as fast as they could. When they passed a man and his dog, they all screamed and shivered.
"What's the matter with all of you?"
the man called after them.
"You look as if you've seen a ghost."
This groundskeeper is less scared and more confused. That's a different take. He must be new on the job.
Mickey and Minnie darted ahead of the group and came upon a tea party.
"Would you like to join us?"
asked one of the party hosts.
Thank you, but we've got to run,"
said Mickey. And that's just what he and Minnie did.
Okay, but none of these ghosts have been threatening or even unfriendly in any way. Mickey and the gang are just straight up prejudiced against ghosts.
As the squeaky cleaners were driving off, Mr. Ghoul came running out of the house.
"Come back, Mickey,"
cried Mr. Ghoul.
"You forgot all your cleaning supplies."
"That's okay,"
shouted Mickey.
"You can use them to clean your own mansion next Halloween."
Aside from the confusing acknowledgement that the ride exists in the world of the story, this is a cute coloring book. It probably could have just been a coloring book of scenes from the mansion without the Mickey and Friends story, but, you know, the story's cute enough for a little golden book, and I do like the rendition of mansion characters in the Disney house style. But I don't buy that Leota and Mr. Ghoul are married. That ship is not canon as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, a little while later, Disney spun off Mickey Mouse Works into House of Mouse, giving the cartoons a nightclub framing device with cameos from all sorts of Disney characters, and yes, the mansion characters are included. As far as I've discovered, there were two particularly prominent uses of mansion ghosts in House of Mouse. The first was in the direct-to-video spin-off movie, Mickey's House of Villains. Like any House of Mouse episode, it's filled with archive shorts, including the Mickey Mouse Works segments Mickey's Mechanical House, How to Haunt a House, Dance of the Goofies, and Hansel and Gretel, and also 3 classic Disney shorts, Donald and the Gorilla, and the same 2 that the Mouse Factory episode used, Trick or Treat and Lonesome Ghosts. I guess they figured it was easier to pad a TV episode out to a featurette length with more shorts than with more scenes. Maybe they were like, this way we could just trim some shorts and slide it in with regular House of Mouse reruns. I don't know.
Welcome, my children. Oh boy, I love Halloween. Lots of haunted happenings around town.
No, that was 4 years ago.
I've got a trick for Mickey Mouse, but you'll all have to wait until midnight.
This movie was advertised as being the big shakeup. The villains are taking over the House of Mouse. Oh no. That is teased at the beginning, but it doesn't actually happen until 45 minutes into this 68-minute video. 6 of the 8 shorts featured in this episode play before the plot actually starts. There's less than 20 minutes of actual plot in this over an hour-long special, but in those handful of minutes, the villains take over, including Cruella releasing the hitchhiking ghost from a crate, and other familiar mansion ghosts also show up. Some of them even get a line in the song.
It's the fact you can't ignore.
It's a shorter line than the racist Lady and the Tramp Cats get, but hey. The next year, on October 10, 2003, another Halloween episode aired called House Ghosts. This episode starts with...
Welcome, my children.
The same Mickey monologue sequence that House of Villains started with.
Oh boy, I love Halloween. Lots of haunted happenings around town.
5 years ago now, Mickey. But one thing is added to the end of the monologue, a doom buggy. That wasn't in House of Villains. More mansion iconography. Let's do it. Also, 2 of the Mickey Mouse Works shorts in this episode are 2 of the same that House of Villains used, the same Hansel and Gretel Silly Symphony, and the same goofy How to Haunt a House cartoon. But that's where seeing the same footage we saw in House of Villains ends. But we do get the same plot device as Pete sees the crate of hitchhiking ghosts.
All right, you grim grinning ghosties, get out there and haunt this house.
So Pete unleashes them as revenge for nobody liking his costume. But it backfires on him as the ghosts harass him instead, and Mickey seems completely unbothered.
crypt doors creak and the tombstones quake.
Spooks come out for a swinging wake.
They sing a swinging arrangement of Grim Grinning Ghosts arranged by House of Mouse composer Mike Tavera.
Vocalize.
Grim Grinning Ghosts come out to socialize.
It's a fun rendition. I like it more than either of the sing-along versions, even more than the one I'm nostalgic for. And the sequence features fun cameos from other mansion ghosts, including the Executioner, not being a doorman, and the Beating Heart Bride, catching Pete's eye before scaring him crapless. There's also more Disney animated spooks, including the Skeleton Dance Skeletons, and yes, the Lonesome Ghosts, who seem really delighted at seeing Pete naked. Anyway, despite Mickey being unbothered, the Happy Haunts somehow prevent the costume contest from happening.
But we didn't have the costume contest, Donald. Didn't you see the ghosts? Wow, we'll have to have the costume contest next year.
I would have loved to see more mansionery throughout the episode, but this musical number captures the playful spirit of the Grim Grinning Ghost pretty well. It doesn't quite capture the scary side of the mansion for anything more than a laugh, but you know, it's a kid show for Saturday morning. If you're going to use the mansion characters in a family-friendly Saturday morning show, this is a pretty good use of them. Then the 2010s came around, and 2 years in a row, we got video games that feature a version of Disneyland. Or in the first case, a sort of netherworld Disneyland. Yes, the first game is Epic Mickey, the video game whose development required Disney to trade a whole-ass human being to Universal for a rabbit. Epic Mickey is set in the Wasteland, where forgotten characters live. Some of them are characters whose stories were told but have since been forgotten. Others are characters who were abandoned before they were even released. And Oswald has shaped the Wasteland into a bizarro Disneyland, building attractions that parallel the Disney attractions, and even building animatronics of the Mickey gang. The game's full of deep Disney fan service, with main levels being set in these bizarro Disney park realms, and in-between levels set in these side-scrolling takes on classic Mickey cartoons. The Wasteland's equivalent of New Orleans Square is the Bog Easy, and it's populated with some familiar haunts. Yep, big surprise, it's the Lonesome Ghosts, who apparently have been forgotten despite showing up several times in previous adaptations covered on this list. Maybe someday I'll get tired of seeing them pop up in mansion adaptations, but I doubt it. I love those silly guys. Here, the side-scroller levels are based on Lonesome Ghosts, as well as a few other Mickey cartoons, and you finally get to the Wasteland's equivalent of the Haunted Mansion. Lonesome Manor, an imposing mansion cobbled together from unfinished pieces of haunted mansions around the world. I like that Lonesome Manor incorporates a mishmash of all mansion designs, but kind of a missed opportunity to not just have this be the Museum of the Weird. Inside the manor, there's architecture reminiscent of the mansion, as well as familiar marble busts who give you advice, platform puzzles with floating tables, and plenty of restless spirits for you to rescue. Then there's a fun twist on the stretching room with variants of the portraits that are familiar but not identical to the ones we know. Boy, did this lady marry all of the singing busts? You have to realign them so that the portions are lined up properly. A simple but effective little puzzle. I enjoyed it. Much more fun than the Famicom take on the stretching room. Then there's the library, which is in chaos right now, and this is where you meet Madame Leona. Leona, with an N. The game leaves it ambiguous whether Leona is a forgotten draft of Leota, or if she's a creation of Oswald in his bizarro theme park, but she's basically Leota in everything but one letter. We know she's not a toon because thinner doesn't work on her and just kinda annoys her. She wants you to restore order to the library, and she has other tasks for you as well. You don't have to do all the tasks, but the more you do for her, the more she'll help you out later. So this Leona variant on Leota is not quite as benevolent as some, not quite as vicious as others. She's very much a you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type, and you know, that's fair enough. I think that's a good place for Leota to be. Also, there's a hatchet here that belongs to Constance, who was apparently once the owner of Lonesome Manor. I love that Constance used to run the manor. I imagine she was a resident of Wasteland up until the moment she was brought back to the real world to replace the Beating Heart Bride. Then there's the ballroom, where the organ is giant, sentient, and grumpy. You can befriend him by somewhat tediously jumping on the keys he wants you to play. It's annoying, but still less annoying than a lot of the games I've played today. Then you make your way up the pipes to the attic. And in the attic, you fight the Mad Doctor, and it doesn't have that much mansion-y stuff, so I don't have to keep talking about it. Out of all the video games I played for this video, this may not be the best mansion adaptation, but it is far and away the most fun game. I'm actually going to continue playing this game for fun, and that is not something I can say about the others.
So hurry back, we would like your company.